This 500-pound man was sleeping when suddenly, a large amount of water started pouring out of his body. The next day, when the man woke up, he had transformed into a handsome man. Not only could he catch mosquitoes with his bare hands while on the phone, but he could also clearly see the tiny hairs on their wings. Later, while out for a walk, the man saw a robber holding a female officer hostage 800 meters away. Realizing the danger, he immediately grabbed a bamboo stick and threw it at the robber. Journalists went wild reporting on this, and the man became a media sensation, attracting the attention of a mysterious figure. The stranger and his men wanted to know the secret behind the man's powers. The man didn't know, but the stranger assumed he was hiding something. The two clashed, and although the man fought back, he was eventually captured. When the stranger threatened him with a knife, the man's face twisted in anger. His body began to convulse and turned red as he unleashed powerful strength, breaking free from the stranger's hold. He grabbed flying knives and fought back, and the stranger threw his own knife to counter, causing chaos in the warehouse. The man fell to the ground, but when everyone woke up, they found the stranger had been killed by the man's flying knife. A female thief pretends to touch up her makeup while secretly using a hidden camera in her compact to capture a photo of a wealthy man's face. The photo is transferred to her accomplices, who use 3D printing to create a mold of his face. After adding skin tone, eyebrows, and a wig, they craft a realistic face mask. To steal his gold, they also need to replicate his voice. The man wears the mask and prepares to act. Meanwhile, at a party, one accomplice pretends to spill red wine on the wealthy man. While he goes to clean up in the restroom, his bodyguard remains outside, providing the man with the opportunity he needs. The man sneaks in through the ventilation duct and stands behind the man in the restroom. With one punch, he knocks him down and forces him to read aloud from a card. The man sends the voice to his accomplices to clone it and connects it to a voice modulator on his chest. When the bodyguard hears the noise and rushes over, the accomplice signals for the man to retreat. The man pretends to have throat issues, coughing to cover up. The bodyguard insists on entering but is fooled by the voice modulator.
Okay, go.
Fine, wait outside.
The accomplice, posing as a socialite, invites the wealthy man to dinner, causing the bodyguard to leave. They steal the gold and escape in a sports car. The man was a bodyguard. He watched as his boss indulged in fine wine, completely indifferent to his presence. The man rolled his eyes in jealousy. As the convoy was crossing a bridge, the car ahead suddenly exploded. A fully armed mercenary group launched an attack on them. Realizing the danger, the man quickly moved to the driver's seat, grabbed the steering wheel, and began reversing. At the same time, the enemy fired a rocket at them. The rocket missed their car. The enemy reloaded their weapon. The man slammed on the accelerator and ran over the attacker just as they finished reloading. Then, another off-road vehicle rushed out. The man accelerated again, crashing into the Jeep. Fortunately, the boss's car was extremely durable, so they remained unharmed. Afterward, they decided to hide in the forest and wait for rescue. However, when they reached the evacuation point, they were met not by allies, but by enemies sent to eliminate them. They quickly took cover. Then, he picked up a Barrett sniper rifle and shot at the helicopter. Just as he celebrated hitting the pilot, the helicopter came crashing directly toward them. This Polish Jewish man was hiding from Nazi soldiers. He had been in a hospital for days, but one day, German soldiers set the entire hospital on fire. Terrified, he quickly escaped. He searched around and finally found some food. As he was trying to open the box, it slipped from his hands. At that moment, a German officer appeared in front of him. The officer asked what he was doing and what he used to do. The man replied that he was a pianist. The officer didn't believe him and demanded that he play the piano to prove it. The man began to play, and the officer was deeply moved by the music. Deciding to spare him, the officer left, but returned a few days later with food and news that the Red Army was nearing, and Germany might lose. The officer also brought a warm coat, asked for his name, and then left. Soon, a car with the Polish flag arrived. Excited, the man rushed downstairs, only to be mistaken for a German soldier because he was wearing the coat the officer had given him. After explaining, the soldiers believed him. Weeks later, German soldiers were taken as prisoners of war. The officer approached a Jewish soldier and asked if he knew the pianist. He wanted to send a message. The pianist received the message and went to the camp, but by the time he arrived, all the prisoners had been moved to another camp, and he could never find the German officer again. Nowadays, killers don't even worry about hiding bodies. A killer has created a high-tech device that dissolves corpses in an hour, leaving no evidence. But his job isn't done. He takes out simulated facial parts to disguise himself as his latest victim, who had a prosthetic left eye, so the killer wears colored contact lenses to replicate it perfectly. His real target is the wedding groom. The murder is just a way to infiltrate the event. He plans to remove the disguise and slip away after finishing. Scanning the crowd, he spots an FBI agent pretending to be a guest. The killer immediately contacts his boss to demand extra pay, but their argument is overheard by a maid bringing more oysters. Unsure if she heard anything, he secretly swaps her oyster knife and cuts the fridge power to spoil the seafood, preventing his plan from leaking. When the groom is alone in the bathroom, the killer subdues him with a tranquilizer dart and pretends to help a drunk toward the beach. Meanwhile, the maid finds the spoiled oysters and hurries to the storage room to replace them, walking right into the trap. Fireworks explode early on the beach, and the bride angrily searches for the groom, only to find him dead. The maid stands there screaming in terror, holding the bloodstained knife.
I didn't do it!
The perfect frame-up is quietly completed under the night. The man was locked in a dock container for 3 days, enduring beatings and electric shocks, yet his tattoos remained unharmed. The police took him back to the station, but they couldn't find any identity information on him in their databases. The sheriff personally questioned him. The man refused to answer, instead warning that people claiming to be from the FBI would come to arrest him, but their identities were false. Just as he finished speaking, the door opened.
FBI's here for him now.
The sheriff quickly realized that their equipment didn't match the FBI's standards, and exposed their true identity. The two men pulled out guns, ready to attack the sheriff, but he reacted quickly, subduing one of them, while the other was controlled by officers. The man's words turned out to be true. The sheriff rushed to the interrogation room and found it empty. Before he could react, the man ambushed him from behind the door. Although the sheriff was skilled, he was no match for the man and was quickly overpowered. The man explained he wasn't an enemy and urgently needed the sheriff's help to escape the station. Just as they were about to move the man, the mob boss had tracked his location through hacking and obtained the personal information of every officer on duty. Assassins sent by the boss had already arrived at the police station's entrance. The man noticed a flash from a police car leaving the scene. The construction team accidentally uncovered a wrapped female corpse while digging. Strangely, the wall had existed for many years, yet the body was as fresh as ever. The next day, the worker who had broken through the wall suddenly went mad. He ran into the street with a kitchen knife, chasing and slashing at passing pedestrians, before finally hanging himself from the village bridge. People believed the corpse was responsible for the madness, so they called in a shaman to deal with the evil spirit in the building. The ritual began, but the shaman quickly realized the evil spirit inside was no ordinary one. In just one round, her consciousness was pulled into a hallucination. As she was about to be consumed by the evil spirit, she managed to bring back a key clue: the list of residents in the building. With the shaman's tragic death, the building became a forbidden zone. The story takes place in South Korea in 1990. The apartment manager suddenly went mad, killed all the residents with a shovel, then jumped to his death. Afterward, new tenants inevitably faced death as well. Over time, the building was abandoned, until in 1998, the construction team preparing for demolition uncovered the wrapped female corpse. The shaman's son, after 4 years of training, awakened his witch blood. Driven by a desire for revenge, he decided to confront the evil spirit. He obtained the tenant list his mother had gathered that day. Arriving at the apartment at midnight, he drew a protective talisman at the door to prevent the evil spirits from escaping. It seemed he was ready to unleash vengeance. The first floor of the building was empty, and everything appeared normal. When he reached the second floor, he noticed blood-red writing on the wall. The man smirked. He was there to settle accounts with the earthbound spirits. He entered the manager's room and found the old tenant registration form, matching the torn corner his mother had left behind. At that moment, the sound of a shovel scraping the floor echoed from outside. Once the noise subsided, the man, holding his mother's ritual tools, prepared to travel to the crime scene from 1990. At that time, the evil spirit had just formed, and he was confident he could deal with it. He successfully arrived at that night, and the tenant list was now intact. He stood behind the door, silently listening to the sounds outside. When the manager left, he sprang into action. The man entered the room and found the spirit of a recently deceased person. Just as he was about to perform the exorcism, the door behind him suddenly opened, and a figure, a girl, flashed past. Before he could react, another spirit rushed out of the wardrobe. Using his demon-slaying staff, the man easily exorcised the spirit. However, the corridor suddenly twisted, and the surroundings fell into darkness. The man quickly lit a lighter. The woman had been trapped in a secret room for 2 months. She desperately banged on the glass, trying to get her boyfriend's attention, but he couldn't hear anything because it was a two-way mirror. She could see outside, but no sound passed through the glass. She watched helplessly as her boyfriend and her best friend shared intimate moments, unable to intervene. One evening, the boyfriend noticed something odd with the water flow. His curiosity made him more cautious, and he began inspecting the pipes, calling the woman's name. When the pipes reacted, he realized she had never left. He turned to the mirror, knocking on it, and discovered it was hollow. He grabbed a nearby flower pot but stopped abruptly, thinking if the woman hadn't left, she must have known about his affair with her best friend. If that were the case, he couldn't let her go, as everything he had now was thanks to his wealthy girlfriend. Seeing his change in attitude, the woman fell deeper into despair. Days later, her mother noticed something unusual in the breakup video, another person's arm visible in the reflection. The boyfriend recognized it as the woman's best friend. The best friend admitted to swapping the woman's key to the secret room and confronted the boyfriend. Faced with the choice between his humanity and his power, the boyfriend ultimately chose to keep his current life, refusing to release the woman.